Hey, it's Sunday. Probably 6:15 in the morning. I'm in the park again this morning. I got my big boy digital camera with me. So I think this morning I take a different approach. So I'll normally walk south, like towards Midtown when I get into the park. This morning I'm going to walk north. I'm going to try to get up through the Great Lawn. It's pretty chilly out this morning. I think the feels like was around 30 when I left. The fall foliage is in full display in Central Park. The trees are pretty much bare. There's a couple of, I guess maybe the leaves are still there. Definitely not green. Yellow, red, maybe a couple of green spots here or there. I also have a group of probably about 30 folks, part of the Central Park Conservatory. It's walking up behind me. They've got the big bright vests on this morning. Not too many people out either. Lots of dogs. Here's one of the great things about the park is that there's, so if you think of like uptown Manhattan as like a boxed grid, and the vertical ones are avenues, vertical streets are avenues, and across streets, right, just call it east to west, west to east streets are streets, avenues and streets. So if you ever hear somebody say 5th and 42nd, you know they're saying 5th Avenue and 42nd Street. So one of the great things about Central Park is it's basically 5th Avenue over to Central Park West, which is realistically like 8th, 9th Avenue. There's a lot of cars driving down. It's usually not the case. So if you think about, right, just say 5th Avenue to 8th Avenue, that's 3 good sized avenues. And then it goes from 59th Street to 110th Street. So what is that? 41, 50 blocks? So that whole area of the park, which is off limits to cars, there's an East Drive and a West Drive that allows for emergency vehicles, park vehicles to have access. Otherwise, it's off limits to trucks and cars, automobiles. There's still electric scooters and bikes that are in the city and certainly in the park, especially with no traffic. They can get uptown and downtown and cross town pretty quickly, which is more or less a story for another day. So you've got this big plot of land in the middle of, arguably one of the most important cities in the world. Gosh, these trees are amazing. I forget how cool fall is. It happens so fast, depending on the weather. Like they're expecting a bunch of rain leading up to Thanksgiving. So a lot of these leaves will fall off. But just the fall colors, so cool. We lived in California, and with the northern or southern California, you didn't really get seasons. It's one of the great things about coming out to East is not only do you get seasons, you get the full impact visually and everything else. It's really cool. So you got this big plot of land that's a park in the middle of one of the busiest, most important cities in the world. So does that mean you cut off basically east to west, north to south around the park? Does everybody have to jam in to 5th Avenue and Central Park West to get uptown and downtown? Across town, they have to jam up 59th and 110th Streets. Maybe I'll get a good shot. There's always this good shot. So I'm walking up towards the Great Lawn. And at the northern end of the Great Lawn, there's a good shot south that gets you the skyline and definitely the Great Lawn. Hopefully I can get a couple of these trees in there too. So what they did is they basically cut underground or under park streets at specific spots across the park. So like 65th and 66th, I think, 81st, 86th, 96th. And I don't know if there's one above 96. But the nice thing is more or less, those align with the FDR. When you're coming off the East Side Freeway in Manhattan, you can come off the FDR at 96 and just scoot all the way across. We were trying to get to the West Side. Anyway, I tried to grab a picture. There's a photo of more or less a bridge in Central Park, which you wouldn't really realize it's a bridge until you looked off and knew that there were some cars coming, and they go under the park right there. They took a picture of that. which is also cool because when you're in the park, you do not hear any kind of car noise. Okay, I'm gonna walk over a little further here. When it snows, there's one red tree in the park. Well, there's probably more than one, but at least near the Great Lawn and the Shakespeare, where they do the Shakespeare play, there's one tree that just glows red. Pretty cool. I'll grab this shot here. There's another shot. There's a little bit of light coming in from the sun's probably starting to come up. See the foreground, it's a softball infield. There's, I think, 6, maybe more than that, maybe 8 softball infields in the Great Lawn. So it's great in the summer or the spring or sometimes, kind of early fall. The weather will be nice enough where you'll see, right, a ball game being played, and then all around it, even in the outfield, people are reading books or, just enjoying the city. So just to the left of me, so now I've crossed over the north side of the Great Lawn, and I'm on the east side of the Great Lawn. Just to the left of me, you can see it now because all the leaves are gone from the trees. That's the Met, the big museum. And then if I was to turn and face the Met, maybe about 6 blocks up on the left, I think it's at like 91st, maybe, is the Guggenheim. Also named the Museum Mile. You can more or less go on 5th Avenue, probably like in the mid-70s. I forget when the first museum is that marks the Museum Mile. But yeah, there's just museums up and down 5th Avenue. Great museums on the west side too. You can see the obelisk, which I think was shipped over from Egypt. I forget the story. I don't know that story. Yeah, there's that red tree. You can just see how and this is just like one little section of the park. So I can see the San Remo from here. I don't think I'll be able to see the Dakota building from here. We'll come up here. This is a cool little spot. You got the Great Lawn, and then you got the Shakespeare place where they do the Shakespeare in the park. And then right on the other side is Belvedere Castle, and below that is Turtle Pond. It's just a neat little spot just to walk around, grab lunch. Let me see if I can get the castle from the other side, because then you'll see the big skyscrapers in the background. Probably just be able to get the side of it. We'll be able to get that red tree up a little close to it. But in the winter, it's so cool because all of the leaves are gone. There's white, snow on the ground. And then you see this red tree out of nowhere. And it stays, I think, probably until a good month or two after winter. After winter starts. So what is that, like January, February-ish? Yeah, it's the Delacorte Theater. I think they just redid that, or it's undergoing renovations now. Shakespeare in the Park. We've won tickets to that, but we just haven't been able to get into it yet. Oh, I mentioned that lamppost trick. Let me see if I can grab one over here. 8143. So we're pretty close to the middle of the park with 43. So yeah, so we're close to 81st. 43 means we're closer to the east side. Or is that closer to the west side? I forget the odds and evens of 43. One of them was closer to the west side. I'm pretty sure we're closer to the west side because we're on the west side of the park. That also looks like a pretty new marker. Yeah, this is 8219. Maybe that 43 wasn't quite correct. I mean, the park bends, right? Or I should say the Great Lawn is basically a big oval, so it bends a little bit. So we might just be in kind of one of those curvature parts. Although 43 and 19 seems like that's a pretty big distance for just a couple short walks. Okay, so now I'm on the west side of Great Lawn, and I'm walking towards Central Park West. Let's see if we can get a marker on this pole. Yeah, there it is, 8423. And just on the other side of pole 8423, there's a little playground. This is also the Seneca Village area. I don't know the whole history of Seneca Village. I just know that it was a place where like a lot of folks lived in the park, and there's a big mound, a rock mound, to designate where Seneca Village is or was. If you keep going right, I'm going to go left, but if you keep going right up into the park on West Drive, you'll run into the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir, commonly referred to as the Jackie O Reservoir, or much like the Yankee Stadium is commonly known as the stadium. The Jackie O Reservoir is known as the reservoir. Keeping it easy. I think the Met Stadium is Citi Field. I don't know if it's people. I don't know what they call it. I call it Shea. I like those more smaller, intimate baseball stadiums. That's why I like going to hockey games and soccer games, because it's a little bit more intimate. You're kind of on top of the game. The San Francisco Giants Stadium is awesome. We were actually there, helicoptered. The Giants used to play at Candlestick. We were there when they helicoptered the home plate from Candlestick and dropped it into the new stadium. I have no idea what it's called these days. Was called SBC, was called AT&T. I don't know what it's called. Anyways, that's a great stadium. Great food, great stadium. Talk about a great redevelopment plan, part of a city. Hey, San Francisco can do good things too. Did I mention great food? Oh my God, the food is so good. There's also these little playgrounds all within the city, all within the Central Park. Yeah, these little parks are for kids and their parents. You're not supposed to have dogs in there, and they're all fenced off, which is great. Okay, I'm back on Central Park West, heading south. See the sun starting to come up, so it's a totally clear sky today. I think the rain probably moves in tonight, tomorrow. You ever been in New York City, or likely have seen pictures of New York City or video? You've seen scaffolding everywhere. There's a place called the Ocean Grill. I think that's what it was called. It was on Columbus. 79th, maybe? It was delicious. Well, they had scaffolding up for the building, and it just cratered their business. No one knew if they were open. No one knew they were there. I doubt you can hear it. I can hear some of the acorns hitting the ground. And these trees are going bare by the second. Yeah, so Ocean Grill created their business. They ended up going out of business. They sued the city, I think. I'm totally paraphrasing this story. It's been a bunch of years. They sued the city because basically because the scaffolding just ruined their business. I mean, it was a big building. They had a lot of seats in there. We went there a bunch of times. Really, really good. I don't know what it is now. I don't even know if it's anything now. So anyway, I think a bunch of years later, I think New York City passed, maybe it was Manhattan, passed a law that if you're going to put scaffolding up, I think by default it needs to be down 90 days after that. I'm totally paraphrasing. I don't know if that's the right number. I don't know if that's the right language. But somehow there is now a law that there is a predetermined time when scaffolding can be up in front of a building. I don't know all the details. I'm sure that there are exceptions. Sounds great. You see the scaffolding go up, and then you're never going to forget about that place because it's not up for that long. Kind of cool photo. So I think this is the Beresford. A little of that Monday or morning light splashing off the side. I think the Beresford is where Jerry Seinfeld lives. And something like that. Beresford is on 81st, right across the street from the National History Museum. Sorry, the American Museum of Natural History. It's also where the balloons will be blown up, 81st Street. Okay, let me get a picture of 81st from Central Park West out of Columbus. Now, before all the balloons start piling in and the people start piling in. 81st is one of those streets that cuts through the park. So a lot of times when I'm flying home from a business trip or just from the airport, normally LaGuardia, they'll ask two questions. You pick them up from the airport. One, Midtown Tunnel or Triborough Bridge. That's how you get into the city. It doesn't really matter. Midtown Tunnel, I think, is like 57th ish. The Triborough Bridge is right. It connects, three boroughs: Bronx, Manhattan, Queens. Queens is where LaGuardia is. It's a kind of cool photo of the back of the American Museum of Natural History. It's got a little sun coming off of it. So this stretch here is, I don't know if it's part 1 or part 2, but the stretch on Central Park West between 81st and 77th is where the balloons will come out of 81st, make a right down Central Park West, and then head down past 77th. That's where the other balloons will come out and make a right, head down Central Park West. I mean, it glow on these trees. It was crazy. I don't think I can get it on a camera. It's one of those photos that you just had to be here for it. So I saw this guy on TikTok who lives in the Upper West Side, and I think he does not necessarily restaurant reviews, but kind of walks through to the Upper West Side, and asks folks what the best restaurants are and the worst restaurants, the most kept, the secret restaurants on the Upper West Side. It's always funny because you think about restaurants in New York, you don't think about the Upper West Side, but we live here, so we've got to eat up here. But it's always kind of fun to see what other people say about like pizza spots and that kind of stuff. And I think we're in good shape with our food. See if I can get a picture of this. It's down. Ooh, I'd really like to get in the street and do this one. Down Central Park West. The left is the park. The right is the San Remo and the Dakota Building. I don't know if I'm going to look at the Dakota Building in here. Let's see what we can do. It's always I always like taking these shots. Here's a photo from Central Park West, down 77th towards Columbus. So that'll be the other street where they blow up the balloons. I think I saw like Wednesday, 12 to 6 is when they're going to blow up the balloons. So maybe they'll be out there on Tuesday. I'll get up early Wednesday and see if I can get a picture of them. Wish I would have got a yellow cab in that shot. But then I'd probably have to get some of the guardrails that are lining both sides of the street. Instead, I try to get a photo of one of those steam pipes. They usually put those up over the subways. I think it's just to release some heat. Apparently, they're looking at putting some air conditioners and bigger fans in the subways during the summers and those August months. Brutal heat. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Ugh, get down there and those trains are running at 100 degrees plus. Too much. Okay, so it looks like they've got signs out, probably for parking. So I'll look and see if I can get a photo. I'm guessing this is for parking during Thursday. They basically flood all these streets with people. Let's see, I think this one. So funny, they wrap these around like these really tiny poles, so you never really get to see. Tuesday, 6 a.m. till Thursday, 2 p.m. Thanksgiving Day Parade. If you have questions, call Yana.